And welcome back to Pokemon Team Videos. Today's Pokemon Team video comes from us from CJM, who asked the question, what is Yusuke Urameshi's Pokemon team? This actually proved to be pretty difficult. There were a couple Mons that were no-brainers to put on the team. I'll get to those guys in a little bit. However, it then became actually very difficult after a while. I'm like, well, Yusuke isn't Naruto or Ichigo. There isn't a set amount of things about him that are clear-cut for Pokemon teams. I'll get to that in a little. I'll get to why that is in a little bit. But let's actually talk about some of the no-brainer Mons. So I wanted something that represented his demon heritage, his upgraded forms, plus his ability to use his spirit energy for like spirit gun, shotgun, all that. And I'm thinking for Sensui, I used Clauncher? or Clauncher, because it could learn Aura Sphere, which would be a perfect example of the Spirit Gun or Shotgun or whatever. But I didn't want to use Clauncher again, and Clauncher really didn't fit Ichigo. However, someone who did fit Ichigo was Lucario, particularly Mega Lucario. Mega Lucario, I mean, it's not like a one-to-one comparison. But it does kind of look like, a bit more like when he gained his demonic form with the Ryzen and all that. The fur, the longer ear dreads. I don't know if that's his hair or whatever. But yeah, I think because it can learn Aura Sphere, it's a fighting type, which helps too, because Ichigo is very much a brawler and very much a physical fighter. I felt that was a perfect fit. There was also the need to have a Pokemon that represented another aspect of him. In this case, Scrappy. Whoa, hey, you're supposed to be up here. Oh, no, yeah. Okay, sorry. It blended with Ash's finger down here, so I'm like, wait, you're not on there. So, yeah, because Scrappy, Ichigo's a punk. That's the thing. For the good portion of his life, he's just like this punk school kid. And that is what Scrappy is designed after. Again, adding the fighting type to there, it makes perfect sense. The dark type also helps represent the slightly more demonic nature of Ichigo. At least at that time, it was very mild, if non-existent. So, yeah, that definitely worked. Then I needed something to represent Pooh, our favorite lovable blue bird person. Blue bird beast. The little derpy-looking guy initially turned into the cool furry phoenix. That's what he was. And I'm like, that one I had to think on. Because with Pooh, absolutely it had to be a flying type. That was a non sequitur right after, but like that had to be the case. It had to be a flying type because that's what Pooh really had going for him. But I'm like, okay, there's not really anything that's standing out. So I'm like, aesthetically, it has to be an aesthetic appeal. And I'm looking at it, I'm like, well, Pooh is basically just a reflection of Yusuke. So it would have to be a strong flying type because Yusuke at that point was an S-class demon when Pooh got upgraded and Yusuke just became stronger. Therefore, Pooh theoretically becomes stronger as well, in theory. So I ultimately ended up going with Tornadus's altered form. It's not like I could have gone with a Solana or hell, even Lugia, but Lugia's being psychic. I mean, hindsight being 2020, Lugia might have been a better fit because the Psychic could have represented his connection to Ichigo. So I'll allow this one to actually be interchangeable. Again, hindsight-wise, Lugia actually does have a slightly better resemblance to Pooh's bigger form, his more powerful form. But I did go with Tornadus. I did think that was still a pretty solid fit. But I'll leave it to you. Would you have preferred Lugia over Tornadus? Let me know. Thinking on it, I kind of prefer Lugia a bit more. But then again, we never really see Pooh do much like physical attacking or damaging or anything like that. But again, I like the aspect of the psychic type representing his connection to Ichigo. I don't know. Again, I leave that up to you if you think that should be changed. Now this is where it got difficult. I'm like, okay, wait, hold on. All right, there's one more, and I stopped. I'm like, okay, there's one more I can put on, and that's the fact that he is a spirit detective. He is still a detective, despite the fact he's kind of bad at being a detective. He's more like, okay, I'm going to investigate, and I'm going to punch things. That's what Ichigo. That's what Yusuke does. So I already had something that we don't have really any detective Pokemon. Say technically one that we're about to get to. because that involves investigating, looking over to the crimes, all that. There really isn't any Pokemon that really represents a detective to 100%. Even the guy I got here isn't 100% a detective. However, given its name, demeanor, technically, this is probably the best Mon for the job, and that's Gumshoes. I did this with Sensui as well. It's in its name too, Gumshoes, which is like a private detective. It's got its hands behind its back. It's also described as being more intelligent than Young Shoes or Young Goose. So, and at the same time, yeah, it's still a very, aggressive Pokemon in many other ways, which still fits Yusuke pretty well. So I thought Gumshoes worked. But here's where it got really difficult. Because while I had Lucario, I still wanted something to represent the demon form. And I'm like, okay, it's demon form. Think about it. He gets his demonic heritage. That's got to be a dark type first and foremost. Okay, because demon, dark just kind of blends together. I'm like, what? I mean, aesthetically, mind you, a Zoroark looked like Ichigo's Ryzen form, if you will, his demon form, because of the long hair. It was actually a pretty good comparison aesthetically, but there was nothing else connecting that. So I'm like, all right, let me see here. Dark type, powerful, probably leaning towards a fighting type, because that is Ichigo's, bread and butter. And ultimately, I settled on Urshifu single strike form. It's not the best one. I'm probably like Grimmsnarl was also on my list, but there's nothing fairy about Ichigo. And it's still the fact that he is by far and large, he's a fighter. That's what Ichigo is. He's not really that skilled of a martial artist, although he did ultimately learn better abilities to fight with, or better styles to fight with. Still, I mean, this is about as good as I think you can get for maybe like really. Lucario's Mega really does look better. Is probably a better representation, but it was more my choice for his, spirit capability, spirit guns, shotgun, all that, and the Mega form just allowed me to access and represent his demon form as well. Urshifu is solid representation of demon form. So there you go. So finally, I'm like, all right, what else do I put on here? And I had this, and then I'm like, stopping there. I'm sitting at my computer like 15, 20 minutes, like, what else is there? I can't really have anything that represents Keiko on his team. Kuwabara, no. I mean, his relationship with Kuwabara is important, but apart from Sirfetch'd, there is no Pokemon that is a sword-wielding Pokemon. And even then, would I use a sword-wielding Pokemon? I don't know for Kuwabara. I'm not going to put Honedge because Ichigo doesn't use a sword. That would be Kuwabara's shtick. But yeah, I'm just okay. So his mom, no. His relationship with Hiei and Kurama, while fine, is not worthy representing on the team. Koenma? No. I've already gotten his demon heritage. I've already gotten his techniques down. All I really have at this point is the fact that he's a fighter, and he likes to fight. So, what's a Pokemon that's a fighting type Pokemon that likes to... All fighting type Pokemon like to fight, admittedly. But, I mean, anything that I'm like, well, I guess we could go this route. Now, there was two options for this route, and I went with Swak. The reason I went with Swak is, while it is definitely more of a martial arts thing, obviously it's got the gi on, a martial arts Pokemon, it's not, and Ichigo is not really a martial artist so much as he's a street fighter who kind of, develops along the way in his series. He still develops. He still learns and he still improves his technique, despite the fact he's overall just, even when we get to Sensui remarks when, Ichigo snaps his shirt and ties him up. It's not martial arts. It's like Ichigo's like, you're right, it's street fighting. That's it. He's a street fighter. He's a brawler, but he does learn and improve his craft as the series goes on. So I felt the Swak was a good enough representation. I will fully admit, this one I was just trying to find a sixth spot holder. This one can pretty much be substituted out with any other Mon you want. But this is, from at least in my opinion, the best representation on Yusuke's team I can do at the time. Lucario to represent Spirit Gun, his spiritual energy, and Mega Evolution to kind of represent his whole connection to Aizen in his demon form. Scrappy to represent his punk years. Gumshoes to represent Spirit Detective, plus still bad attitude. Tornadus' altered form, / maybe Lugia to represent Pooh. You always got to say it like his voice. Pooh. Urshifu to represent just true demonic heritage. Single Strike, by the way, that's the dark one, not the water one. And then Swak or any other interchangeable Mon to just represent the fact that he likes a good fight. So that is Yusuke Urameshi's Pokemon team. But that is just my opinion. What would you do for this Pokemon team if you would do anything different? Let me know in the comments below. But until then, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Like, comment, share, subscribe. I'll see you folks on the next one. Have a good one.